17 games this month. You guys just grinded through it. Chet, how did it feel to end this month on a good note?
It's always great to come out with a win, but we know we got a lot more work to do. The season's not over. We still got a lot of games left, so that's where our focus is going towards now.
Welcome into the Thunder basketball universe. That, what you just saw or heard, depending on how you're watching or listening to this podcast, that was the scene last night inside of Paycom Center as the Thunder defeated the defending champion Denver Nuggets by 5 points. Chet Holmgren laid out a little bit of the context of that game. We're going to get into all of everything you need to know from that game. It was an awesome matchup inside of Paycom Center, but he pointed to a little bit of context that the Thunder had going into that game. It was game number 17 of the month of January. That is the max amount of games you can play in a month in the NBA. The month itself, the Thunder played 11 games on the road, 5 back-to-backs. So it was just jam-packed of activity. There was no time to breathe. And Coach Dagnall brought up a really good point before the game against Denver. He was like, objectively speaking, so this isn't Mark's opinion here. Objectively speaking, by the data, January that we had, our schedule was the hardest month any team has ever had in the last 5 years.
Yeah, and to put it in more context, like the Thunder's first game of January was January 2nd. So it was 17. It was really 17 games in 29 days, which is just insane. And oh, by the way, as a part of this American tour here, we hit the East Coast. We hit the West Coast. We did a trip up through the middle of the country as well. And, to end this slate here, it was 6 games in 9 nights. Yeah. And that is just brutal on these guys' bodies. And yet the Thunder did a really nice job of, I wouldn't necessarily say sprinting through the finish line, but like crashing through it, crashing through the boulder that was in front of them and just toppling themselves over the finish line to get there. And they did it, and they finished out the month with power.
And had a very impressive approach to the month. I mean, a lot of teams, especially young teams, could look at that month and see it as something that's really daunting, something that they're dreading to get to. This group is just so competitive, first of all, but also they don't make excuses. Not one time in a post-game interview. And there have been questions that are like, would you say that this was kind of a scheduling loss? Or would you say that this game, you guys are kind of tired? Or
this is the first time you've gone through this because you're so young.
January, the fatigue of January catching up to you. They were like, nah, I'm not going to chalk this up to fatigue. Like, we didn't bring our A game, or like they would not make excuses. And I think that says a lot about the second youngest team in the NBA.
Yeah. They're like, hey, nobody's going to feel sorry for us.
Yep.
Like, we all play by the same rules as everybody else.
Exactly.
We are having a really hard month.
Nobody cares that we're going through this. The refs don't care. The opponents don't care. And so we're not going to come out here and expect to be given a softball here.
Yeah. And, the Thunder didn't get any points taken off the scoreboard in December when they had a much more home-heavy stretch. And so the Thunder recognizes that there's a give and a take to all of this throughout the season. And I love the insight of a guy like Kenrich Williams who said, I actually love the losses that we've taken in this month. And I love how hard the stretch is because this is going to be what makes us tough and makes us ready for what might be coming down the line here, in April and hopefully beyond that. We've got to go through some of these challenging and difficult things so that we can all look at each other and say, not just with our own inner confidence, but with experience together, hey, we got through all of that. Like, we got this. We can handle this.
This team loves adversity because they know coming out on the other side of it, it makes you a better player and a better team overall. And that's what we saw from this month of January. Very impressive stuff from the second youngest team in the NBA. They finished 11-6 during that month. Really strong record for such a daunting and just densely packed month. And since there were 17 games, we had a lot of stats. There were so many stats this month to pull from. We just threw like 30 of them at you just from what January provided alone. But we're going to get into some stats of the week. We're going to limit it to this past week here.
Okay.
And Nick, I'll let you go first. What is your stat of the week?
All right. Well, this is actually a season-wide stat, but that was, I guess, achieved in this game against Denver. And the stat is half.
Okay. Hold on. I need some clarification. Is it like 0.5 or is it like 50%?
50%.
50%.
The Thunder has done this thing in 50% of its games this season.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Hopefully I'm leading you towards something.
Offensively, defensively.
Offense.
This is a tough one. All right, give me more details here.
This is kind of like a high water line in the NBA, and if you do this thing at this rate on a given night, it's going to be pretty darn hard to beat you on the offensive end. And the Thunder has done this thing half of the games.
What is it, like shoot
in 24 of the 48 games.
Is it shoot above like 40% or shoot above 50%?
Shoot above 40% from 3.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, nice job. Yeah.
We had no conversation ahead of time, by the way.
This was kind of like verbal charades.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah. You just kept saying above this number. Yeah. That's great. No, and it's a good indication because in that Denver game, the way it started off, it was not looking like that was going to be a threshold that Thunder was going to get to that night.
Right, but the Thunder ends up shooting 42% from 3, 11 of 26. And look, the Thunder doesn't take a ton of threes, but they take good ones. Mm-hmm. And that's why that number has been so high. It's why the Thunder's been one of the best three-point shooting teams in the league all season long. And one of the reasons I wanted to bring it up is you're in the dog days of January. You just played 17 games in 29 days or whatever it was. Having the legs to shoot threes, including to shoot a 3 like the one Chet made with 22 seconds to go, when at the end in the fourth quarter against a game against a really physical team, having legs is like probably not the thing that you're going to have. But the Thunder did it, and the Thunder has maintained this ability to shoot over that high water mark for half the games this season and have one of the best 3-point shooting marks in the league, and that is what's helped really create a lot of openings in the lane where they really want to get to as well.
It's awesome because, first of all, I'm pulling up stats because the Thunder has so many guys that are shooting above 40% themselves individually. A guy like Cason Wallace, a guy like Aaron Wiggins. I mean, Chet Holmgren is out there knocking down shots at a very efficient rate. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander hit a step back 3. And so it's really cool that it's not just like a pocket of guys, right? Like it's not like 2 or 3 guys that, okay, this team is going to close out super hard and just run them off the line and the rest of these guys just want to drive. No, it's like everyone is a threat, both at the rim and the 3-point line. And it makes this team really difficult to defend.
Yeah, it's basically like throughout the season, there might be some, fluctuations as the year goes on, but basically like 7 rotation guys have been above 40% from 3 throughout the year. And that's a really nice thing to have when you've got all 5 guys on the floor attacking downhill on drives. A guy like Shai who lives in the lane, and he's not a 40+% 3-point shooter, but having all those guys around him who are, that creates so many avenues for him to get to the lane, and then eventually those teams are going to converge, and it's sort of this symbiotic thing, right? Like they're shooting very well, which is leaving the lane open, and then as soon as the lane's open, well, they're going to get these catch and shoot looks that are wide open. And they're going to shoot well.
Well, and to add to this, in the game against Denver, the other element that really helped OKC was the pace that they started to play with, especially towards the end of that second quarter into the second half. And when the Thunder's playing with pace and you have shooting and you have guys who can finish at the rim, if you're on a fast break defensively, where are you supposed to go? You're supposed to protect the paint, right? You're supposed to protect the rim because on a fast break, that's where the ball is typically going to go. It's the highest percentage shot. No one wants to shoot. You're not taught to shoot threes on a fast break. But when you have a guy who's attacking downhill in transition, who is a massive threat at the rim like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, well, Chet Holmgren might just, hang back behind the 3-point line. And where's all the defense? It's surrounding Shai at the rim because this was this fast break opportunity and this broken defense. It just converges on Shai. Next thing you know, Chet has a wide open 3. And so like the pace, in addition to all of these, the skill that's out there on the floor just really bodes well for the Thunder offense.
And sometimes it can be difficult, especially going up against a veteran team, to get those tires out of the mud, right? The Thunder only had, I think, 19 points after the end of the first quarter. And that can often be difficult. We saw it actually a couple nights before against Minnesota, an elite defense, probably the most elite defense in the NBA. Yeah. And it's hard to get those engines revved back up. But OKC managed to do that in this Denver game. And I thought that was great game-to-game learning of being able to get unstuck and get that offense flowing. And it's what led to, I think it was a 20-2 run that spanned the end of the third quarter and beginning of the fourth quarter. And that's when that game completely flipped.
Yeah. All right. We'll get more into the Denver game in a little bit. Here's my stat of the week. I've told Nick before the podcast started. I was
know,
like, I'm so excited about this stat of the week.
I'm a little nervous. I have a feeling I'm not going to get this.
It might be tough. 4.3. This is a deep cut. I'll give you a big hint.
Is this from this week?
I think so. Here's the big hint.
These rules about this being about this week have really gone out the window because mine wasn't. She's saying, I think so.
I host the podcast. I make the rules. Okay, so it's over the last 3 wins for the Thunder.
Over the last 3 wins for the Thunder.
4.3.
4.3. All right. I'm going to take a wild swing and say this is Vasa Micic assists.
No, but that is a really good guess. Really good guess.
4.3 in wins.
It's an average.
Okay, is this the average?
This is. I will be shocked if you get this.
Is this the average fourth quarter scoring differential for the Thunder?
You're getting closer.
Okay, you're gonna have to tell me.
You're getting way closer. This is the average number of players in your walk-off interviews.
That, as Michael Cage would say, is a stat that you will not find on the stat sheet.
No, you will not. Yeah. You will not. It is such an invisible number, but it has been one of my favorite things to see, A, who's going to be in your walk-off interview, and B, what are they going to do? Because the last 3 games, so last night against Denver, I think you set a new record for number of players in a walk-off interview. 5 guys were in that walk-off, including J-Dub, who didn't play.
He didn't play.
He was in his street clothes. He just needed to be a part of the group. And then against New Orleans and San Antonio, both 4 guys.
Wow. Okay. Last night was really like this nice, they kind of do different formations
they
each
do.
time too,
Sometimes 3 guys in front and 2 guys in the back, or just like, this one was like a big giant semicircle, and I don't know how you were able to get your questions in.
This last one, definitely that like half moon look. But you're right. In San Antonio, it was Shea, and then it was kind of like the 3 backup singers kind of behind him, and J-Dub was saying in the background behind them. Let's see.
New Orleans. That had, I think that was was that a Chet walk off or maybe a Dub walk off? I can't remember, but they started barking.
There was a whole pile of guys there. Yeah.
And I just remember a lot of barking at the end of that game, and there was more barking at the end of this Denver win.
Well, to peel back the curtain a little bit, although you guys probably could have seen it in the walk-off.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But I was supposed to get Chet and Vasa. One of Chet's things is like he always wants to have somebody with him in his post-game walk-offs. He's kind of a very team-oriented guy, and he wants somebody with him all the time. Well, J-Will, J-Dub, they've just started kind of crashing the party no matter what, whether they're involved or not.
So good.
This really took it to the next level because they grabbed Kenrich and sort of just insisted that Kenrich be a part of it as well.
Yeah.
And then as the interview's going, J-Dub's kind of like making eye contact with me. He's telling me, ask Kenrich a question. And so that's why at the very end,
amazing.
I was like, okay, I got to set these guys up on the barking thing. And so I said, you got a bunch of dogs in this locker room.
Well done,
and
Gallo.
Kenrich, you're a ringleader. And of course, that just, set them in motion.
Well, it was just like really fitting because that game against Denver, first of all, no J-Dub, no Isaiah Joe. So Kenrich Williams steps into the starting lineup in place of J-Dub. And it was just like a full team effort in that game. So, of course, you need 5 guys in that walk-off interview to really just kind of set the tone for what made the Thunder successful in that game.
And how about Kenrich? He starts the game, but he doesn't actually start the second half.
Right.
Mark deployed him in a very interesting way, which was kind of basically to use him as a second big in the second unit when Chet would kind of play those late third quarter, beginning of fourth quarter minutes. In the first half, we'd seen Chet and Jay Will together. Kenrich really slotted into that role, and it speaks to him totally. Is like,
for sure,
you want to start me? You want to bring me off the bench? You want me to play me as a guard? You want to play me as a forward? You want to play me as a center? Whatever, man. I'm out there. I'm going to compete my tail off no matter what, and it's going to be great.
The Thunder has so many guys like that. Like Kenrich is like the consummate example of that. Then you got Aaron Wiggins, the Swiss Army knife, who just like, You need some rebounds?
Yeah.
Got you. Need a 3? Got you. You need
Yeah.
me to guard Steph Curry tonight? Okay, cool. I'll help you out. I'll help you out on that. And it's just those guys can just be plugged and played in so many different situations, and they're gonna get their best effort every time they're out there on the floor. And so I'm sorry I stumped you on my stat of the week.
It was a great stat. Here I am pouring over my stat sheet, and that's not going to be on there.
I just want everyone that is watching our podcast to recognize if you're not watching the walk-off interviews, you're missing a very fun element of these games. Nick always does a fantastic job, but it's also just that's where you see the chemistry and the camaraderie, and just this group genuinely loves each other.
Yeah.
These guys just enjoy hanging around each other, and it's such a tight-knit group, and you see it in firsthand or during those walk-off interviews.
Honestly, it makes my job so easy because I can just kind of get out of the way and let them enjoy being together, and that's what everyone wants to see.
Definitely.
Everybody wants to see these guys together and loving on each other and all of that, and they obviously do. So it's great.
I also love the different flavors of walk-off interviews because like last night was just like pure fun and like enjoyment. The one in San Antonio, was that the Shea one?
No.
Shea was New Orleans or San Antonio?
San Antonio was Wiggins.
That was Wiggins?
Yeah.
Okay, one of the recent ones.
Right.
I've lost track at this point. It was Shea and then the 3 backup singers.
Shea was at Minnesota.
That was at Minnesota.
Yeah.
Okay. It was Shea and the 3 backup singers. And then it was less like everyone was like chirping and have a good time. And it was more like Shea, like, I see you back there misbehaving. Don't make me turn this car around sort of vibe.
Shea is the older brother of this, like Kenrich is like the uncle. They call him Uncle Kenrich. Vasa is definitely an uncle on this team.
Yep.
But Shea's like got the big brother.
Definitely.
For sure.
Definitely. Yeah. So those are always just super fun. If you're turning the game off as soon as the buzzer ends, don't do that anymore. Don't do it.
Stop it.
Keep the game on. You see that latest walk-off interview. It'll be amazing. Okay. So we got to talk about the actual game that led to that amazing walk-off interview because it was a big comeback for the Thunder. A lot of context, as we mentioned, 17th game of the month, last game of the month, everyone's banged up, bumps, bruises. No J-Dub, he's out with a right ankle sprain. Isaiah Joe, he's out as well. And then the Denver Nuggets were without Nikola Jokic. Yep. So there was just a lot potentially surrounding this game that could have led to some excuses either way, know? And for the first quarter of the game, it looked like this might not be the night. The Thunder came out of the gate shooting just 28% from the field, 1 of 6 from the 3-point line. And it was a really slow start to the game. But the switch got flipped in the second quarter. And from the second through the fourth quarter, the Thunder shot the ball incredibly well. But it was the defensive energy and it was the just sheer hustle plays that were out there that don't show up in the stat sheet, that aren't going to show up on any highlight reel. But the energy plays, the hustle plays allowed the Thunder to walk away with that win. Yeah,
I mean, Denver shot the lights out in the game from behind the arc. They actually shot terribly from 2-point range, just 39% on twos, but above 40% on threes. So to combat that, OKC had to just do the dirty work. Mm-hmm. And there were 2 shot clock violations that the Thunder forced. Thunder forced a 5-second call inside the final 30 seconds of this game.
That was huge,
incredible. And Aaron Wiggins on the spot again. He's defending the inbound passer, and they can't get the pass in. How many loose balls? I mean, Lou Dort diving all over the floor. We talked about that in the broadcast. Jay Will taking a charge. I mean, so many of these
One
plays.
of my favorite ones was Shea hits that massive step back 3 at the top of the key. Well, as soon as he hits that shot, Denver quickly outlets the ball. Jamal Murray is just burning himself up the floor to try to get a layup in transition on a made basket. It's just him and Shea in the backcourt. And Shea races to contest this layup and completely erases the opportunity. And on the highlight, they'll only show the step back 3 from Shea. Right. But that defensive possession 3 seconds later was just as big of a possession.
And the Thunder's really hung its hat on transition defense for the last few years now. Yeah. And those habits showed up big time on that play, on the strip that Lou Dort made of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope late. I mean, you don't get those 2 stops and you probably don't win the game.
Yeah.
And those are, I mean, if you were to, I'm just taking a wild swing here, but those plays, when they've got a run out like that and it's one-on-one defense in transition and those guys are kind of hip to hip, they're usually getting points on 90% of those occasions. And for the Thunder to come away with 2 stops on both of those possessions, that saves the game.
Huge. And that was a key because the Thunder got down by 13 points in this game. Then they had to rally back. They had to scratch and claw. It wasn't until the third quarter where they were able to actually tie the game and take the lead. So they were really fighting throughout the entirety of the first quarter, entirety of the second quarter, a lot of the third quarter. And then from the third quarter to the fourth quarter, it was just holding off Denver because Denver, they got down by 13 as well in the second half, but they didn't go away. This came down to the final minutes of this game, and that's when we saw Chet Holmgren with a massive three-pointer. But again, before that three-pointer even happened, it required 2 offensive rebounds by the Thunder just to get them that opportunity.
And I thought this was incredible. I don't know whether it was foresight or what it was, but Mark Daigneault subbed Josh Giddey into the game for that offensive possession.
Yeah.
And it just, turns out Josh rewarded his coach with great energy and effort on that play to not only grab one offensive rebound, but to grab a second one off of his own miss and then turn around and kick that ball out to Chet. And, Chet didn't pull the ball back out. He didn't waste any time. He said to us after the game, we weren't getting a better shot than that. A wide open, in rhythm, catch and shoot three. I mean, that's just like the target practice that they take at the Thunder Ion.
Yeah.
And so you got that kind of look, you got to go for it. And he nailed it.
If we're going to talk about hustle and energy plays, we also have to talk about the defensive end because this was massive. First of all, super low scoring game, 105-100. And these are the Denver Nuggets we're talking about here. They're very potent offensively. And obviously Nikola Jokic plays a big factor in that. So the chemistry of the game kind of shifted a little bit with him out. But they still had Jamal Murray in there. I don't know if you've heard about him, but he can kind of shoot the ball really well. The Denver Nuggets held to their 5th lowest point total of the season. They only had 34 points in the paint, which is the lowest they've had all season long. So that was a massive element to this game. The Thunder kind of taking away Denver's fastball throughout the entire night. And one thing, I talked about it in the postgame show last night, and I want to bring it up again because a lot of people aren't going to talk about it. But Lou Dort's defense on Jamal Murray throughout the night, absolutely incredible. And there were a couple of plays that come to mind where it was just a pest, right?
Yeah.
Just an absolute pest and force Jamal Murray into a super contested kind of fade away, maybe try to bank it off the backboard type of shot. Jamal Murray was nowhere near as efficient or effective as he could have been in this game, and Lou Dort had a big part in that.
One of the underrated things when you look at a stat sheet is purely the number of shot attempts.
Yeah.
And with no Jokic, for Jamal Murray to only get 14 shots in the game and to only go to the free throw line twice, that tells you what you need to know about the job that Lou Dort did. He prevented Murray from having one of those nights where he's got double the points than he did shot attempts.
Right.
And just by being solid, by not fouling, by getting a hand up and contesting everything, you force Murray into 16 points on 14 shots, and you're just not going to have an explosive offensive night if that's sort of the situation. So an amazing job by Lou. He fought through every screen. And this is where seeing the pictures starts to really add up for the Thunder. OKC had a game to look at before where Jokic did not play.
Good point.
And so Mark told us before the game, they had a little bit of a blueprint of what they thought the Nuggets might be like on the offensive end of the floor, including how they might utilize Murray. And having a guy like Lou, who's now seen Jamal Murray so many times, this is what's starting to build. And as guys who are in their second year like J-Dub or rookies like Chet and Kaysen, as they start to see some of these pictures over and over again too, that's only going to add up for this team.
And we saw Kaysen step up defensively as well. Aaron Wiggins, Kenrich Williams, Chet Holmgren with his 5 blocks. Love this stat from our guy, Chris Josephson.
Oh, the man.
In the middle of the game.
Crushing it,
making us look so smart out here. He texted us, and they took a block away, first of all, from Chet.
Yeah, so this is more arithmetic that
exactly.
Chris was having to do during the game.
So at one point during the game, he was supposed to have 5 blocks. They took one away, and then he finally got his 5th block. And CJ texted us, and he was like, this is Chet's 6th game with 5 or more blocks. In OKC history, there have only been 9 games
for a rookie
to have 5 or more blocks. Chet has 6 of them. 6 of them.
That's incredible.
That is a wild stat. And the other 2 guys, Serge Ibaka had 2.
And Poku had 1.
Yeah. And so it just goes to show just the impact that Chet is able to have already in his rookie season.
Yeah, I mean, he blasted through the Thunder's rookie block record like when we're not even halfway
Not
through
even
the
halfway,
season,
yeah.
and he just bowled that over. So Chet certainly having an incredible impact. His presence at the rim last night was sensational, as it has been all year long. And again, what's so impressive is these are the dog days of the season. There's been no break. There's been a relentless schedule from just the sheer number of games to the travel to the wear and tear on the body to every night having a new opponent to deal with and try to line up against. And yet these guys, Mark said last night, I mean, these guys have just been monsters about attacking it physically, mentally, and not like giving any quarter to the challenges coming their way.
And I mean, I just thought back to the second time that the Thunder played Denver, where Chet had 8 blocks in that game, and he blocked like 6 different guys. Like it's not like he's just blocking Aaron Gordon over and over again. Like
which is hard enough to block him one time. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. He was on the list, by the way. Yes, he was on the list. But yeah, he's just been a factor, and not just that, but just blowing up plays by just deterring looks around the rim, similar to Lou, and his ability on the perimeter to just deter opportunities. Chet doing the same thing down there around the rim. The last thing I want to talk about when it comes to this game is the effort from the second unit.
Oh, yeah.
Which, I mean, obviously, when you're down a couple of guys, the Thunder's not just like 1-for-1 subbing guys in to make up for, missing J-Dub or missing Isaiah. It's a collective effort. And the Thunder second unit, yes, they had 38 points in this game. Yes, they shot the ball incredibly well, but it was their energy, it was their defense, it was their hustle. It was just, they elevated the game when they stepped onto the floor, and it started in that second quarter in particular.
Yeah, the second unit and the reserve guys really buoyed the team in that first half, because the Thunder only scored 47 points in the first half. 22 of them came from the bench. And so that's nearly half of your points coming from guys that are playing significantly less minutes than your starters are. And that is really what helped the Thunder hold the line enough to give themselves a chance in the second half. And a guy that really was a springboard for the team on nearly every possession that he was in control was Vasa Micic, who had a career-high 12 points to go with 5 assists in just 17 minutes of play. And he really helped orchestrate what the Thunder wanted to do offensively, particularly against a zone defense that we're seeing more and more of being thrown at the Thunder's direction.
It was interesting because he came into the game and 5 points immediately by Vasa. He had a layup, he had a 3, and then I looked down and on our courtside website, our stats website that we get to see, there was a little note, and it was Vasa Micic is responsible for 100% of the Thunder's points in the third quarter, and it was because he had put up I think he'd put up 6 points or something, but he had 4 assists that were responsible for 8 points. And it was all 16 points that the Thunder had put up, Vasa had a hand on it. And I think that goes to show just the impact that he was able to have on that game.
And, there's confidence within a game or within, how you're, playing or whatever. But there's a broader confidence that Vasa has that he was not pressed or worried about how many minutes he'd been getting, where he was figuring into the rotation, how many games he was playing. The first 2 months of the season, he has been so cool to just let it come to him and let it happen. And now he's played almost every game in this month of January, which is ironic because he's used to playing twice a week over in Europe and practicing way more. It's something that he and I have talked about in some elevator rides in our hotels of just kind of, getting your head whipped around by some of this travel for the first time dealing with this. But he's really taken it all in stride and embraced the whole journey and recognized, hey, some nights aren't going to be for me, but I tell you what, last night against Denver, that was a Vasa night.
And he's done a really good job of just integrating into the team, into the system. The group has obviously embraced him as well. Another guy off the bench who has been giving the Thunder some massive minutes recently, kind of midway through January, he's averaging around 18 minutes per game. Aaron Wiggins.
Yeah.
I mean, he was incredible again tonight. The other night, he had 12 points on 5 of 8 from the field. I think over his last 9 games or so, he's shooting above 60% from the field, above 60% from the 3-point line. He's just so efficient and effective when he's in there. But again, it's not just the offense with Aaron. Recently it's been, oh wow, he's shooting the ball really well. But it's also his rebounding, his defense, his ability to just move the ball and cut without the ball. All of that stuff has made Aaron just so effective when he's out there on the floor.
Yeah, Mark Daignault calls it the Aaron Wiggins diet. And I wrote in my Drive and Dish newsletter for our Thunder Insider email members that diet's going to be more popular than keto or Atkins here coming up, especially in NBA circles, because, I mean, you look around the league and other teams are looking for Aaron Wiggins type players anywhere that they can find him. Teams that are contenders. If you can get a guy who comes in and is shooting above 50% from the field, above 50% from three on like 2 attempts a game, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's incredible. And so we had to get a chance to have Aaron Wiggins speak for himself on this podcast, and she's been so effective. So here's our interview recently with the one and only Aaron Wiggins.
All right, we've got Aaron Wiggins with us now, and thank you so much. You're a friend of the pod at this point. You know, we've had you on before, and so really appreciate you taking some time. And I know, you just take nothing for granted, and you're always so grateful for every moment you get. And I was just thinking about you, you're picked in the 50s in the draft, and not many guys that are picked in the 50s get a chance to be playing a third NBA season.
Right.
What is this like for you? How did you manage to carve out a career for yourself like this?
Yeah, it's a blessing. Can't take it for granted, like you said. But I've just kind of taken it one day at a time, taking every lesson that I could, and just tried to like grow from it. So just trying to take advantage of every opportunity, keep my head down, work hard, be smart about the decisions I'm making, and I'm just blessed. And it's a great organization, great group of guys. So I think I'm in a good situation to succeed.
I was gonna say, does being universally loved by all of your teammates help a lot too? Is that easy?
If that's what you call it, yeah. I love the group of guys that I'm with, and I think just the way that we kind of like associate and get along with each other is huge, and it's special to be a part of. So I don't take that for granted either.
You and Trey have developed such a great connection over the course of time. Of course, many guys as well. But, just thinking back to when you first came into the league, what were some of those bonds and memories that really stood out to you?
Yeah, with the amount of time that you kind of spend with your teammates and everything, you're going to get close with a lot of them. But from the time we both got drafted and ended up here, I don't know, we were on the same flights and sitting beside each other to away games. On the buses, if it's packed, we're sitting beside each other. So that's just a bond that you kind of grow with, and he's like a brother to me. So we call each other twin. That's my twin brother right there. So it's a special bond, and I appreciate him just being a good person.
Well, you and your twin have gone through a lot together. You've experienced some adversity, and then a jump in 16 wins and last season. So you've kind of had this large gamut of experiences so far. How have you guys as a team kind of managed to handle the ups and downs of that, not get too high on a nice 3 or 4 game winning streak, and then, have the poise to deal with a losing streak too?
I just think kind of understand that it's a long season. There are going to be times where you're not at your best, and it might be a couple of days in a row, might be for a couple games in a row. But understanding that, the season doesn't end after 1 game, and that there's, if not the first game and the second game, there's 80 more to go. So it's like just kind of knowing that, you have the opportunity to come back, bounce back, learn from, the previous game and get better. And like I said, our team is really close knit. So we all understand that, all of us are very competitive and we want to win. And each and every person is going to do whatever it takes to, put our team in the best position to win. So just kind of understanding that it takes a team effort and that it's a long season. So
it feels like in this league, humility is a massive key also. It just seems like the teams that let their foot off the gas just a little bit, there's no amount of time that goes by that they don't pay for that.
Yeah.
What have you all learned in that regard in terms of like not taking any day for granted and not resting on your laurels?
Yeah. Hard work takes you a long way. And you have to understand that regardless of your success or your failures, you have to, kind of be within yourself, and we do a really good job just kind of staying within our system, staying within our team, with our goals and everything that we're trying to achieve. And along with that, just understanding that, every single day matters, and you have to take it, with the same approach that you would a game, even a practice day. No matter what it is, you have to, look at every day as important as any other one. So we do a really good job just kind of staying in the moment and understanding that you can't look too far ahead, can't sit on something from behind, and you just got to kind of, stay with each other and within our system. So
you have had to prepare for so many different types of matchups over the course of your career so far. What goes into your game day preparation if you're guarding a guy like Jimmy Butler one night and you're guarding a Jason Tatum another night and you got a guard that you have to deal with?
A lot of film and a lot of sleep. That's all I can tell you. I take my naps on game days, and I go to bed early. And then I watch a lot of film, depending on who the matchup is. And there are a lot of teams with multiple stars now, so it's not one guy that you could just always kind of be prepared for. It's kind of just understanding the way that, the team is going to approach the game on a defensive standpoint, and then also from your individual standpoint, just kind of having, that mentality that, you want to get stops because it'll help your team. It'll make you look good. And just having that mindset has worked for me.
So many guys talk about the game day nap. What's the cadence of things that have to lead up to the game day nap? Is there a certain thing you got to have for breakfast?
Yeah.
And then you shoot around, and then how do you give me the whole?
I'm not superstitious or anything, but I've kind of followed a routine. Everybody has a little routine, and it's important that in the season, it's such a long season, that you have a routine. So there's no, just kind of guessing of like, what should I do next? But wake up early in the morning, get my breakfast, team film, maybe shoot around, and then lunch, big nap. After you eat, everybody wants to take a nap. So after that lunch, you go take a nap, wake back up, little snack again before the game, and then it's ready to go. So
any particular food that you got to have on game day?
Not necessarily. I have a healthy soul food type meal that I love to eat. It's like mac and cheese, baked chicken, cabbage, green beans, sweet potatoes. So that's a pretty big meal, but I eat it beforehand, puts me to sleep. That's what it works.
That sounds like a North Carolina meal. And
100%.
I'm from down the road from where
100%.
you are. And
100%.
I grew up in Durham. You grew up in Greensboro.
Yeah.
Is that something that's on the Wiggins family household table?
100%. Every big event or anything, I got to have that exact plate, everything.
Tell me a little bit about where you grew up in Greensboro, and what was special about that place for you growing up.
Yeah. I got 4 siblings. Being in Greensboro was, just a blessing. I think the state of North Carolina as a whole, especially when it comes to basketball, is extremely talented and very special. So the basketball environment, both in Greensboro especially, I think Greensboro, Charlotte, Raleigh, those 3 areas are huge just in terms of the competitive nature and the guys that, have been successful to come out of those cities. So it helped shape me. Being in Greensboro, there are a great group of guys who I competed with for most of my middle school to high school career. And I'm grateful for those, experiences. My family was close with me. And like I said, maybe I didn't say it here, I said it somewhere else, but my mom and my dad, they're heroes to me. They sacrificed a lot just for me to be successful, and transferring high school is to kind of be in a situation to kind of get better. And, I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, that gratitude just shines through you all the time. Tell me a little bit more about the sibling rivalry that you have. I'm sure, they made sure you earned everything you got to.
Yeah. I'm the second oldest of 5. So my older sister, we had a competitive thing, and it's still something that's ongoing to this day. I don't know how, but we find some way to, make everything a competition. And then I got 2 little brothers who, they are also basketball players, and they're about my size now. And they think that they can beat me, but they don't understand it's levels to it. So they don't have me yet, but maybe one day. But my whole family is extremely competitive between my cousins, my uncles, my aunts. Everybody kind of ties into basketball. My mom wasn't talented, but she played basketball in high school, and she said she played for the Shoes. I don't think she ever touched the court, but just competitive nature, and they're all good people. So,
do you remember when you fell in love with the game? Was it through family this way?
I'm not sure. I want to say since I could hold a basketball, I was like sure of basketball. I always played different sports growing up. I played a little bit of football. My mom made sure I did a lot of extracurricular activities outside of sports even. So I was kind of well-rounded growing up, but it was in middle school, maybe 6th, 7th grade, where I decided I was like, basketball is the one that I'm going to like take seriously. And I put football down after middle school and started focusing on basketball in school so that I could, go to college one day and play for a college team. So,
because of your family's love of the game and just being so tied in with that, and families in a way are a team too, the way that you all work together to get things done.
For sure.
Has being a team first player always just come naturally to you?
Yeah, I would say so. Especially like I said, my mom made sure that I was in extracurricular activities. All of my siblings were in the same thing. So, different schedules and things like that. I had to sacrifice basketball tryouts sometimes because there were certain things that my siblings or my mom or my dad had things to do. And I'd find my way in a good situation either way. So I definitely say just kind of understanding that there's, other things that kind of have to be taken care of. And, you can't always be selfish and just make yourself a priority. You got to be considerate of others. So that's something that I'd say kind of comes a little bit naturally.
Yeah, Mark Dagnall says you have so much clarity about your game and your role. And it's kind of shining through here in how you're talking about yourself and how you fit in with your family too. How do you think that you were able to arrive so quickly at that clarity of your role with this team and how you can impact winning?
Just kind of understand what it'll take to succeed, both for the team and then for as an individual. Like you said, being picked in the 50s, it's hard to come in, being picked late in the second round and, try to be a superstar. That's hard to do. So you have to kind of understand that there's ways for you to grow and, ways for you to find a spot in certain situations. And I just try to adapt, try to be all ears and eyes and just listen and make sure that I'm putting myself in a good situation. And just taking it one day at a time, like not being hard on myself because, I may not succeed the way that I want to in a specific situation, but understanding that I have a lot of days in front of me if I make the right decisions and I don't know, just kind of being smart about everything.
You mentioned ears and eyes, and my first thought was you making eye contact with Josh Giddey or one of your teammates, you cutting backdoor and then firing a pass right by your defender's ear.
Yeah.
Tell me about the art of cutting and how you've kind of.
Josh makes it easy. Josh makes it easy. Being with a great passer makes it really easy to kind of find just those open seams within the defense and stuff. So, I don't know, just kind of reading my guys. And even with like Shea, some of our other ball handlers, J-Dub, everybody's a little bit, like very talented in every part of the game. So passing isn't just something that like, not that somebody doesn't have. Everybody has a really good feel for the game. And all of our guys can pass. So just trying to make the reads and make sure that I'm, making myself available to the team when they need me. And then also just helping out my teammates and making sure that if I'm in the right spots, the team's going to be in a good spot. So, but like I said, Giddey's a great passer. So that eye contact and stuff just kind of happens. Sometimes he'll like look just like a certain way and I'm like, cool, I'll go. Like, just give me the ball. So just trying to make it easy and find ways to make the game simple.
That takes time, of course. And the last thing I have you, and it folds into that, is this has been a homegrown project with you all. You guys have spent so much time together. You've been able to build those connection points. How does it feel internally to this group to have done this yourselves? And you still obviously have a long way to go.
Yeah.
But you're not looking elsewhere. You're not looking outside of this building. It's all within that is going to get you to where you guys want to be.
Yeah, it's awesome. And like you said, we haven't really succeeded. I wouldn't say that we've done anything at all quite yet. But in terms of the team, I think, we're all close-knit. And like I said earlier, just kind of understanding that our success will come from within. And if we stay together and we're just kind of building one day at a time, we'll continue to grow and see more and more success as we go forward. So it's been very special. Everybody gets along and everybody understands, the goal as a team, and everybody's willing to sacrifice whatever it takes so that we can reach our goals. And it's special to be a part of. So
that's Thunder basketball right there for you. Thank you so much, Aaron. Really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you for having me.
The one and only Aaron Wiggins. Just always great to hear from him. And great insights from North Carolina. You can always tell in two North Carolinians.
That's right. You got it.
Yeah. When they get together, it's always going to be a good time.
Yeah. He's just such a wholesome guy and really easy to talk to and fun to chat with. Obviously, like really influenced by his family, very big family that he comes from. And it's got to be one of the things that makes him such a good teammate is that he's just, he's always just like fit in where he could and gotten along with everybody around him. So it's been great. He's universally loved.
That is very, very clear by how his teammates just have embraced him throughout his career and obviously the impact that he's able to have on this team. Nick Gal, great job with that interview, sir.
Thanks so much, Paris.
Of course, I'm sure Aaron made it a little easy on you.
Yeah, always. Always.
All right, let's get what's coming up for the Thunder here. They have 2 more games left in this homestand. It's at a Paycom Center. I got to say, I have been loving waking up in my own bed after spending 11 games on the road in January. For context, the Thunder only has 11 games in February.
Yeah.
They had 11 road games in January.
I'm really disoriented. It's February 1st. I'm wearing short sleeves. we've only got 11 games over the next month coming at us. It's like, what world
is
world did we
happening?
come from, and which one do we go
Exactly,
into? Yeah.
but we definitely earned this gala.
Yeah.
We worked for this, okay? Only 11 games in February, and the first one is actually tomorrow against the Charlotte Hornets. Thunder Friday nights,
There
which
we go.
is always an exciting time here in the Thunder basketball universe. That means that game is going to be free and live over the air. You can catch it on our Griffin Media partners across Oklahoma State, the state of Oklahoma, channel 52 here in Oklahoma City with an HD antenna, and channel 6.3 in Tulsa. So be sure to tune in. That game's going to be really fun, taking on the Charlotte Hornets inside of Paycom Center. And then the last game of this 4-game homestand going to be on Sunday against the Toronto Raptors. So a couple of Eastern Conference opponents making their way to Paycom Center.
Yeah, definitely an opportunity for the Thunder to continue to defend home court, try to head into the All-Star break strong. Only 4 more games, after that before the All-Star break. So really nice pacing to the schedule remaining. Basically only 1 game road trips from here until March, which is just lovely.
I just can't stop smiling about that. That's wonderful.
So we're really definitely looking forward to this stretch. And it's an opportunity for the Thunder to not just catch their breath, because this team kind of always remains vigilant, but a chance to really settle in and take advantage of being able to heal and rest their bodies the way that they need to.
Yeah, it'll be a really good stretch here for OKC and a couple of really good games just to wrap up this homestand here inside of Paycom Center. Well, that wraps up our podcast here today. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Thank you so much to Aaron Wiggins for the time, and thank you so much to our producer, Matt Bishop. And until next time, Thunder up, and catch you later.